Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone patch 23.0 is here and it's a pretty huge patch for Mercenaries. No, we didn't get the solution to excess coins yet, although they said that in the future excess coins will be used to further buff up your Mercenaries, but we'll see more about that, no details are out yet. We also only get one new Mercenary and that's only coming with the next rewards track, so in 1 week we're not getting any new bounties, we didn't get a new event. But what did we get? We got something pretty special because we got a task revamp. So we can expect more Mercenaries events in the next patch and then a bigger chunk of Mercenaries, bounties, tasks in the next X.4 update. So that's coming in roughly 2.5 months, something like that. But the task revamp, that's a pretty big deal. Task system rework, starting with patch 23.0, so it's right now. Completing one task in a Mercenary's task progression will automatically move you on to the next task in that Mercenary's progression. No more farming for tasks. You don't have to farm for tasks. Complete one task for a Mercenary, you get the next one. You complete that, you get the next one. That is sweet. The Mysterious Stranger was designed and intended to give you more tasks, but yeah, that didn't really work out. Yeah, it didn't. We are reducing his appearance rate. He will still appear occasionally so that you can get more tasks if you abandon a task or complete a Mercenary's task progression. Okay, so you might want to farm Mysterious Stranger sometimes to get a quest chain started, but that's it. And you will also still be able to get random new tasks in the normal task slots every day with the daily reset. So this will give new Mercenaries players so much more direction, so much more control. You're actually able to just decide, hey, these are the Mercenaries that I want to work on. Once you find one task for them, you can just progress through the entire chain. No farming. Also, like, farming was counterintuitive, like, who would go on and farm? Now anyone who just picks up Mercenaries and, hey, I got this task, and I get this task, and I have this task, and they can just complete this. So while this doesn't solve all the problems, it doesn't solve all the monetization problems, it doesn't even solve all the grinding problems, but for the grinding part of this game, this is a big step forward. So yeah, well done. To demonstrate, I'm here about to complete Wanderer's task, so I just need to use one ability and Wanderer's task will be completed. And now that I complete this task, just let's see what happens. Pow, those opponents go down. Wanderer's task has been completed now. Task 2, push forward, completed. And it automatically opens my campfire. Alright, I claimed task completion. And Wanderer's task 3 opens right up. Beautiful. In addition to the task system rework, there's also a lot of balance changes for Mercenaries. Almost all of these balance changes are buffs. There is one that I think is actually a nerf, but pretty much all of them are buffs, and there are so many of them that I'm not going to go through them all, mostly just adding a little bit of numbers here and there, adding a bit of stats here and there, a lot of balance changes overall. But there are some that are particularly interesting. One of them being King Mukla. You've usually used Mukla's big brother, so you get that Taunt Monkey on the board, but now, refreshing bananas. New bananas give additional +5 health. Radioactive bananas give additional +4 attack. I have sometimes already played with bananas, with some comps that I have been using, and yeah, these even bigger bananas, they're quite interesting, and I think Mukla's equipment choices are not going to be as obvious in the future. Then we also have some pretty major buffs for scabs. I mean, stats from 1177 to 1381. And then Seismic Contract equipment, Honing Rod equipment, big buffs to equipment, especially Honing Rod. I've been using Honing Rod a lot, and now Shadow Blade gives +10 attack first instead of +4 attack. So base attack buffed, Shadow Blade attack buffed. That's going to be a lot of attacks for scabs. Very, very interesting changes. Then one that I want to point out about Millhouse, not really about Millhouse, but there are lots of these changes. So Millhouse's Arcane Powder, for example, here. New rank 4 Arcane Explosion deals 5 more damage and enemies lose stealth. They're doing some balancing against stealth enemies, mostly for PvP. There's not much in PvE going on with stealth. But for PvP and stealth, they're adding lots of abilities or equipments that then will have lose stealth as one of the conditions. Other interesting balance changes include changes to Tyrande, Arcane Salvo from rank 5 dealing 8 damage to random enemies to dealing 12 damage to 2 random enemies, and if any die, repeat this. And Elmon's Charm damage being added a lot as well. Arcane Shot deals 5 more damage to Arcane Shot deals 50 more damage if the enemy has already acted, and Arcane Shot is a very slow ability, so Tyrande has been totally useless. But with these changes, I'm not sure if these are enough to make Tyrande good, but Tyrande is definitely getting more attractive than she was. And also variant rune changes are pretty big deal, these retaliation changes. Retaliation, old rank 5, after an enemy attacks this turn, gain +5 attack and attack it. And now it's +5/+5 and attack it, so also health. And also for War Banner, Retaliation also gives an additional +4 attack. Now it doesn't give as much attack anymore, only gives +2 attack, but also +10 health. So Varian is getting a huge buff here. As is Trigger. I mean, just look at that Backlash buff. Backlash used to be the next time an enemy damages an adjacent ally, gain attack and deal the smirk's attack damage to them. But now it becomes, first it gains attack, and each time an enemy damages an adjacent ally this turn, deal the smirk's attack damage to them. So now we can finally do stuff with Trigger, like when there's this sort of small incremental damage, chipping damage, and then Trigger is just going to boom blast at everyone. Trigger is going to become much more useful from here. And then the only nerf, Warden Dawn Grasp, Old Flurry. Deal 6 damage to 3 random enemy mercs, they are 2 split slower next turn. And new, shoot 3 missiles at random enemies that deal 7 damage to each and slow for 2 speed next turn. So okay, this is sometimes a buff, sometimes a nerf, but most of the part it's a nerf at the start, because typically you have been able to say, hey Warden, yeah, do your thing, slow down the entire enemy team, but now that doesn't necessarily happen, because those missiles shoot random enemies, so multiple can land on a single target, so don't always slow down an individual. It becomes more random and less predictable, and in some cases this can be a real problem. But we'll see. And then a few miscellaneous changes for Mercenaries. While on the bounty, the campfire node will now allow work with 1 click instead of being selected and then entered. And then Murky is the new mercenary that is coming with the rewards track in 1 week, and Murky coins will be added to Veilastra's bounty instead of Lady Anaconda coins. Okay, so no new bounties, but Murky coins have to come from somewhere, so Veilastra's it is. And also changes to bleed mechanic. Multiple stacks of bleed will now be combined into a total bleed count that can be reduced by healing instead of erased entirely. And then bleed damage will no longer be able to deal critical damage. And I have used that bleed crit in some of the bounties, but that will no longer be available. So overall it's hard to say whether the bleed changes are buff or nerf, but for some of the use cases where I have been using bleed, this change in how bleed functions is going to be a nerf. And yeah, that was all that's coming to Mercenaries, or already came to Mercenaries today. Some pretty exciting stuff about those tasks. That's a great change. I really like it, being able to progress through the task chain of a mercenary just in a single go. Very, very nice. Yeah, that should make Mercenaries a lot more accessible. There's still a long way to go, but that's a good start. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.